What is up, everybody? It's Chase here, and today is a very special day. I know this is a moment that everyone has been waiting for. We are finally going to be going over my Nightblade Stage 4 Vampire Hard Mode tank. Now, I will say, as far as veteran PvE goes, this one here is my best tank yet. But I will race change her later, and I'll talk about what I'm going to do with that and probably later in the video. But first, like always, let's go over the basics and then move on to advanced tactics. By the way, don't mind the health recovery. I'm at stage 3 currently because it ran out, but I decided to keep it at stage 3 at the start of this video so that way I can show you why I use Vampire Stage 4. So, yeah, I got low recoveries, but that doesn't matter. Hang on, let me set an example for you. I'm gonna drain all my magic. Let's get rid of all that stamina too. Watch this. And then I cast my heal over time again. Restore my stats. Infinite sustain. This build is so broken. I get major expedition. Again, I can restore my magic. Cast my heal over time. I get major evasion. I get insane amounts of HP. Keep in mind, I'm not even using a food buff right now. Like, that is how insane my HP is. Yeah, a second. I get access to major protection. Although I don't stand in that, and I'll talk about why later on. But I still get it even if I leave the circle. Okay, so. The effect is still on. Hang on a second, wait for the major resolve to wear off so I can show you the unbuff stats first. Alright, yeah, but like I said, keep in mind, as of right now, I'm not even using a food buff. But I'll show you what it looks like later on, but it's insane, I'm not even using a food buff. And I already have 53k health. Alright, so this is me unbuffed. I got 24, or almost 25k physical and spell resistance. 53k health, like I just said, and that's about all that matters on this build. And now, when I buff my resistances, I got cap resistance on both bars. A little bit over cap on the frost staff, but that's okay. Alright, so I'll go over the skills. Okay, so on my front bar, I'm using concealed weapon. You don't have to use this. Of course, I use it occasionally in my videos because it sets the target off balance, so that it helps heavy attack DPS builds. But the reason why I have it is because while slotted, you gain minor expedition, increasing your movement speed by 15% at all times. And that's on both bars. And I would say, okay, she is currently a high elf, but later I will race change her to an orc. The reason for that is orcs get movement speed or reduced cost of sprint, max stamina, and max health, which is pretty much everything you need for this build. Because your healing will scale off your max health since you're a Nightblade, and you need stamina because you're a runner. And as I said in my videos, the whole point of this build is that you're always on the move. So, yeah, like I never stop moving on this build. Sometimes I stop sprinting, but I never stop moving. I'm always on the run. Okay, so on my back bar, I do have this skill. You don't need it. If you want to, you can go with, where is it? Okay, you can go with this skill because it applies minor vulnerability. So if you want to, you can go with that. But I went with this because of the extra heal. Now my front bar, I already showed you what this does. Basically, it's a snare, but I'm using it for the major protection. I saw my back bar. I got this for the major evasion, immunity, or it removes all snares and immobilizations from you and grants immunity to them for 6 seconds. While active, taking direct damage reduces the cost of your next dodge roll by 10%, up to a maximum of 100%. This effect can stack up to once every half second. Alright, so on my front bar, it's very important that you slot this on your front bar because it's your main spammable, okay? It's Dark Cloak. This is a massive burst heal. And like I said, keep in mind, I'm not even using a food buff, so I can have a lot more HP than this. Now, my back bar, I have Refreshing Path. Of course, for the major expedition. But the heal also helps because this is a PvE tank, so it supports allies. And it also gives minor endurance and minor intellect, just like my Warden. I apply Major Cowardice to enemies. By the way, I should mention this, you have to get every passive for all class skill lines, just like before. And I'm not using this. Most tanks would use this because it's a good heal, but I don't see why it's useful for this build. Alright, so I have the funnel health, again on your front bar. Or if you don't like that skill, you can replace it with this, because it gives you minor mending. But I don't use that skill because it drains my health a little bit. That's just siphoning attacks. This is going to be your main spammable when you're on your back bar, because that's how I have so much resource sustain. I say the best sustain is with a Nightblade. Like, I run 700 recoveries and I'm still okay. Or if you want to, you can even replace this skill with this one, because it says if the enemy is hit, you gain a major brutality and sorcery. And that's actually really good for this build, because the higher weapon and spell damage you have, the more healing you do. And as I said, this build, I'm going to be honest with you, it's not even really a tank. I use it for tanking, but this build in general is not a tank. It's more like a selfish healer, because pretty much all of my skills are based around self-healing. Alright, for my taunt, as always, I got a sword and board ability, but this time I'm using the sword and board taunt. I always have some kind of sword and board ability in all of my builds, though. But I'm using Pierce Armor Morph. Again, every passive. For your Frost Staff, you're not using any of these skills, so you just have to get every passive except for these two. Again, every every heavy armor passive. Some people tell me that I don't really need this one because the health recovery doesn't count as a stage 4 vampire. But I find that this one actually does help my build because if you look at the other bonus, it gives me higher sustain. You don't have to use this skill. I'm just using it because it's a lot easier when I go to town and repair my gear. Because, like I said, I play as a stage 4 vampire. Not many people know this, but you can actually use the Vampire's Mesmerize skill on merchants if you're at stage 4, and then they'll allow you to talk to them. By the way, look at this. This is why I use stage 4. Not for the invisibility, but for the 50% reduced cost of sprint. Because as I said, the whole point of this build is that you're always on the move. You stop moving, you're going to get yourself killed. That's happened to me several times in my video runs. Undaunted, you need to get both of these passives maxed out. Of course, I'm using Resolving Vigor on my front bar because it gives me bonus resistance and a heal. Oh, I forgot to go over my ultimate for my backup. Yeah, I'm using the Perfect Scion. It says you also ascend to Vampire Stage 5, which grants all the benefits of Vampire Stage 4 with none of the drawbacks. So I don't take extra fire damage in this form. I have a bit of health recovery. But most importantly, I'm still getting the reduced cost of sprint. And another thing is, says while transformed, your max health, magicka, and stamina are increased by 10,000. Another reason I use this is because it increases my health by 10,000. So if you look at your skills, like this is a Nightblade. Pretty much all of your self-healing is going to scale off your max HP, so that helps out a lot. Now, as I do, I'm going to go over, or as I do in the other videos, I'm going to go over my gear and then the champion points. I'll probably use this. Or you know what? I'll drink this. Show you what my stats look like when I'm buffed. Or when I got my health buff. And keep in mind, as an orc, I'll have even more HP. So I'll probably be around 75 to 76k health in this form. But yeah, okay, for my food, I'm using the Pack Leader's Bone Broth. You don't need any potions for this build. You just need to know how to use it. Because as I said, like, if you're running low on resources, like, just cast this. And then cast your heal over time. And then cast it again. And you're perfectly fine. Like, I do not need potions on this build. I have tanked pretty much every dungeon on hard mode with this build with no potions perfectly fine. Like, the sustain on this tank is crazy. And let's go over my gear, as I said. So first off, I'm using Warrior Poet. It gives you 2 lines of max health, 2 lines of armor, and gain minor toughness at all times, increasing your max health by 10%. So I'm using the sword as decisive, but soon I want to change that to infused. My shield is infused, that's the right enchantment. Or that's the right trait. Frost Tap, you want to keep that as defending. Keep the life drain enchantment. Warrior Poet, you want to do healthy on all the jewelry. I should probably change this. Yeah, a bit more stamina recovery, since I'm always running. So stamina recovery on both of these, flame resistance on the necklace. And now I'm wearing the leeching plate armor. So I got the boots with reinforced pants, reinforced gloves. By the way, this one is not going to stay impenetrable. Anything that's not currently reinforced is going to change to infused. Like the belt and the helmet. Those are going to be infused later. So, by the way, everything is golden glyphs, okay? I forgot to mention that earlier. Just like my last build, every glyph that I'm using is gold. Alright, so I got... by the way, this is what leeching does. It gives you 2 lines of health, 4% healing taken, and when you take damage, you summon a cloud of leeching poison under the Asciliant. The cloud deals 1,599 poison damage every 1 second for 5 seconds, and heals you for 105% of the damage caused. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds. But it also scales off your max health. So what if I were to pop this, and then look at it? Now that would be almost 2,000. So that would be 2k healing a tick, plus the 9k from this, plus the 7k from the vigor. And now I got the Thermokin monster set. It says when you take damage from a nearby enemy, you summon a grown pool of desecrated bile for 8 seconds. Well, before I read the rest, I just want to state that everyone tells me that I don't apply minor maim on this tank. Yes, I do. Like, look at what the monster set does. Anyways, I'm going to finish reading. It says, enemies in the bile take 732 disease damage every 1 second and are afflicted with minor maim and the disease status effect for 4 seconds. It says diseased, but that's what diseased is, the disease status effect, because there is no disease debuff. Reducing their damage done by 5%, and healing received and health recovery by 6%. So, this set is good in PvP, but it also helps out in PvE a lot because of the minor maim. So all you gotta do is get them to stay in that AoE, and then there you go. Now I'll talk about why I'm not using Stage 4 Vampire right now, because I wanted to show you. Like, look at how much my sprint costs. And I'm gonna come over here and bite this guy real quick. Now look how much it costs. I removed half of the cost, just from half of the cost of sprint, just from being at Stage 4 Vampire. By the way, yes, I am using Stage 4. I wear the Meridian Purified skin because it hides the fact that I am a vampire. But sometimes I like to use this. Alright, now let's go over my champion points. Alright, so you need to get all 3 of these. Come into here, max out all of these. You also need to get this one. Now come over here. You don't need Fortified. What you do need is Boundless Vitality. Because as I've said multiple times, your self-healing will scale off of your max HP because you're a Nightblade. Now I'm using Expert Evasion. We come over here, max this out. I maxed out Hasty, maxed out Celerity. And then you want to max this one out. This should probably be maxed out too. But most importantly, you need to max out Slippery. Alright, so that's done with those champion points. Don't worry about Gifted Rider. I just put this on every character when I'm in Cyrodiil. Same with War Mount. You don't worry about it. You know, you need to max out this Breakfall for the reduced fall damage. Rashner and Steed's Blessing. I guess it won't hurt to max this one out too and slot it. This one you don't need, because as I said, I don't use potions. Again, this one is optional, but it helps. Well, I guess... Or never mind. I'm not showing you what Mundus I'm using. I'm using the Steed Stone. Not for the health recovery, but for the extra speed. Alright. I guess that wraps things up for today's video.